Rise and shine. This is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, September 24th. I'm Austin Karp, and for anyone that bought a Russell Wilson Giants jersey, well, maybe there's a jersey swap program out there for you. With the G-Men turning the first-round pick Jackson Dart under center, I'd expect the former Ole Miss quarterback's jersey sales to skyrocket if he can help right the ship in the Meadowlands. I was at Sunday Night Football over the weekend, and walking into MetLife Stadium, it was a hodgepodge of jerseys among the Giants faithful when I wasn't actually seeing the many Chiefs jerseys that were dyed in the crowd. Lots of retired former Giants, always the popular Lawrence Taylor number 56 jersey, then the likes of Eli Manning, Victor Cruz, Odell Beckham Jr., and others. A few Dart jerseys. But I saw a bunch of Cam Scadaboo jerseys in the parking lots. And the way this kid has been playing, including 60 yards on the ground with a TD and 60 yards receiving on Sunday, it seems like he was meant to be a Giant. And fans are picking up on it. Our friends at Fanatics tell me that on Sunday, it was Cam Scadaboo's best day for jersey sales since he was drafted. And he was a top 25 player in the league for jersey sales on Sunday as well. Not bad for a fourth rounder, and maybe a bright spot during an 0-3 start to the season for Big Blue. But let's turn to some baseball news. The big development on Tuesday was that MLB is welcoming its new robot overlords starting in 2026. As my talented colleague Joe Lemire reported, MLB's Joint Competition Committee, comprised of 4 players, 1 umpire, and 6 reps from management. That's the Mariners chair John Stanton, Cardinal CEO Bill DeWitt Jr., Giants chair Greg Johnson, Rocky CEO Dick Monfort, Blue Jays CEO Mark Shapiro, and Red Sox chair Tom Werner. They passed a vote to introduce the automated ball strike system next year. ABS, a source told Lemire, will become available to teams on a 2-challenge-per-game basis. Teams will retain their challenges if they are successful, and they will receive an additional challenge if they don't have one at the start of each extra inning. It's been a 6-year road for ABS in getting to the big leagues, first in the Independent Atlantic League, then the minors starting in 2021. Major leaguers were first exposed to ABS during spring training this year, and it will also be a sponsored asset for MLB. The animations that appear on the scoreboard and TVs are going to carry branding that the system is powered by T-Mobile's 5G network. T-Mobile, obviously a longtime league sponsor, and that branding was seen in July when ABS was deployed at the All-Star Game in Atlanta. The thing that I'll be paying attention to the most next season are player and manager ejections, and here's why. MLB data shows that 61.5% of ejections among players, managers, and other coaches last season were related to balls and strikes, and around 60% or so of ejections this season, same way. Expect that number to be reduced, but I'll be honest, some of baseball's more endearing moments are when some of these folks get tossed. Bobby Cox made a career of it down in Atlanta. It's a staple of SportsCenter highlights. When someone gets in an argument with an ump, gets tossed, that's what people want to see the highlights of, or have gotten used to seeing the highlights of at least. It wasn't over balls and strikes, but every now and again, I'll still Google Earl Weaver's epic tirade with umpire Bill Haller back in September 1980. Keep the volume low at work if you're going to Google that one, as Weaver is the definition of NSFW. But I digress. My point is that my head knows this is the right move for Major League Baseball in 2025. This will help get calls right, keep the game moving, and that's what MLB is doing. But my heart loves seeing a good argument between a player or manager and an umpire on TV, fires up the crowd, and it's been part of the DNA of baseball. I hope that we can keep some elements of that. Let's stick with baseball for a moment. When BetMGM Sportsbook at Nationals Park first opened at the start of 2022, it was the first retail sportsbook located at an MLB ballpark, and the first sportsbook MGM had operated outside of its casino properties. A lot of press at the time, a lot of optimism and buzz, but as SBJ's Mike Mazzio reports, BetMGM Sportsbook at Nationals Park is closing at the end of the regular season. BetMGM will remain a sponsor of the team, part of a 5-year deal it signed at the time. But this is definitely a trend for these brick and mortar betting operations at ballparks. Fanatics Sportsbook at Progressive Field, that shut down in April, 2 years after opening, while BetMGM relocated from Great American Ballpark to a downtown Cincinnati location in 2023. Let's be honest, the numbers aren't lying here. More than 95% of all legal sports betting last year was conducted online. You're betting from your phone. You're not walking up to a kiosk in 2025 unless you forgot to charge that puppy before you came to the game. Some notable news on the college side, courtesy of SBJ's Ben Portnoy, who reports on a pair of notable gatherings of leaders, and both gatherings are coming without the gridlock brought on by the United Nations General Assembly meeting currently jamming up Midtown Manhattan. First, NCAA basketball tournament expansion was on the tip of everyone's tongue in Indianapolis for the 2026 Men's Final Four tip-off event on Tuesday, and NCAA Senior Vice President of Basketball Dan Gavitt told SBJ that discussions about possible expansion are continuing, though decision makers are still weighing myriad factors. There isn't necessarily a rush here on the TV side either. Remember, the NCAA's deal with CBS Sports, Warner Brothers Discovery, those TNT, True TV, TBS games, that runs through 2032 and doesn't stipulate that the networks have to shell out any more money if the tournament were to expand from 68 to 72 or even 76 teams. Instead, for now, the NCAA is exploring changes to its corporate partnership program. Gavitt noted expansion could still happen for the tournament in time for the 2027 event, a decision that would likely be made by this spring. Long term, though, expansion of the tournament is a smart play on the media side. Even those current first 4 games in Dayton, those rate well. They get good numbers. And you would draw additional partners, perhaps, and additional dollars when that next media rights deal comes up. But we talk so much about the NCAA tournament devaluing the regular season, and I wonder whether more tournament expansion would exacerbate that. On the college football side, FBS commissioners are set to meet this week in Chicago as part of the Fall Conference Commissioners Association, and that means more talk about the future of the CFP, which has had its own expansion issues. But we already saw some momentum this week. ACC athletic directors approved a shift that will see its teams play 9 conference matchups and 10 games total against the Power Four. That comes on the heels of the SEC making the same shift last month, but nothing is certain with CFP expansion talks. FBS commissioners did set a December 1st deadline to make format changes for the 2026 season, but we're still facing a format impasse between the Big Ten and the SEC. I'd be surprised if we see any white smoke coming out of the meeting in Chicago. Some other notes to wrap things up. MLB has a new corporate sponsor, as Unilever's Nutrafol OTC hair growth supplement has signed on as the league's first official hair growth partner. That's courtesy of our own Terry Lefton. The Hornets have a new patch sponsor, as Clutch Sports helped Charlotte secure a multi-year deal with the newly rebranded medical tech company Judy Health. Plans are to make an official announcement this morning at the New York Stock Exchange. The Ryder Cup is ramping up just outside New York City this week. Play is set to start Friday. The opening ceremony was actually moved up to tonight with weather in the forecast for Thursday night. And with a lot of talk and perhaps controversy surrounding United States Ryder Cup members being compensated for the first time in the event's history, Scottie Scheffler and several of his teammates said on Tuesday they are planning to donate their entire stipends to charity. European players had already rejected the idea of being paid for participation. Regardless of where you come down on the issue of player payment at the Ryder Cup, there is a boatload of cash being splashed around this event. As my colleague Josh Carpenter writes for SBJ this week, the Ryder Cup at Bethpage is being billed as one of the biggest sporting events in New York history. 1.5 million square feet of tents across the property. There's even a $10,000 per day VVIP offering. Some triple-decker hospitality units just to the left of the opening hole that represents a first for the Ryder Cup. The PGA of America's merchandise pavilion, that's going to span 60,000 square feet, its largest setup ever. Just a lot from the business side that we haven't seen before at a Ryder Cup. I'm also going to be chatting with Golf Channel's Brandel Chambly about the event and the broader golf landscape on the SBJ Sports Media podcast that comes out tomorrow. Finally, a few viewership nuggets coming out of the weekend. Miami's thumping of the Gators, that led all week 4 college football games. But the number that caught my eye, even with an 11 p.m. Eastern time zone kickoff for Michigan State USC, Fox still drew 2.1 million viewers for that matchup. That beat the 1.6 million at 7:30 that Fox got for Arizona State and Baylor. Don't sleep on what a strong USC football team can do for those late night TV numbers. They're 4-0, they're ranked. Let's see what kind of numbers they can deliver. Their first time being strong since they came over to the Big Ten last season. And while Nielsen's new big data may not be having the supercharge effect on games themselves right now for football, college, and pro, College Game Day sure is benefiting. That show has now started the season with its 4 best regular season audiences on record. This past weekend, its second best audience ever down in Coral Gables. And you got that great ESPN property crossover there with the Florida Panthers' Matthew Tkachuk serving as the guest picker on the show. And finally, no Caitlin Clark? No problem. ESPN Network scored the company's second best opening round of the WNBA playoffs on record, behind only last season, but that's up over 120% over 2023. And things didn't slow down this past weekend. The Fever's upset of the Aces in Game 1 of the semifinals, that was on ABC. That was the best semifinal audience ever for ESPN Network's 1.4 million viewers there. Heck, that's the same audience that ESPN drew for Tulsa, Oklahoma State football on Friday night. But this is a trend that continues to track with how the regular season went. Yes, Caitlin supercharges the numbers when she plays, but WNBA numbers are rising regardless. The Aces came back in Game 2 last night, tied the series up. Big game there for MVP A'ja Wilson. If the Fever, though, can somehow upset the Aces, make the WNBA Finals, those numbers are something I'm going to watch for sure. So that is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, September 24th. I'm Austin Karp. My fantastic SBJ colleagues Jenna Zara and Rachel Axon, we bring you the Buzzcast tomorrow. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Make good choices out there, and I will speak to you again soon.